Welcome back guys in my channel, and here we are with a new tutorial, and this tutorial is all about how you are going to edit your picture in 10 simple steps. So let's go. Let me just give you some, let us just reset it. This is the raw photograph which is sent by my friend Tu Muskura. That's his Instagram channel, you guys check him out, and I already tagged him also. So basically this is what the picture I get, and what you see, I'll tell you what you see. This is what you see. This is the final output, and what I do, how I did that, how I learned it. So basically I used to watch all these tutorials and everything. Then basically you have to keep on trying with all the colors and everything. I will tell you how I do that, basically how I edit it, if you're going to see the before and after. So this is the before and this is the after. Okay, so what I generally do, if you can see, first of all, whenever I get a photograph, what I do, I go to my exposure and contrast. First of all, I go with that. You can generally see, like, I put 81 contrast in the picture because you can see the contrast is very low. This is a very hazy pic, and you need some contrast in order to see some sharpness and everything, and colors, how you going to treat them basically. So that's why I put the contrast very high in this picture, and then I put exposure like according to the picture. I don't do generally play with exposure until unless I want to. So that's why I only go with the contrast first. Then I put my highlights down, because when I put my highlights up, you can see that I was not able to see the background. That's why I put my highlight accordingly, and so I just put it down. Whenever you want to definitely whenever you want that your background will also come into picture, and when there are so much white light and everything, so just put the highlights back down. And shadows, I also put shadows down, and it's because I want the blacks to be black. I don't want the black colors. Wherever the shadow is, I want them to be completely black, so that there has to be some difference between the highlights and the shadows, so which will make your picture better and more dramatic. And so if you go with the whites, I generally keep them upside, because I love how generally you will play with that, because if you see those whites, I want a little bit popping out, like little bit. I don't want a dull. This is very dull. If I put it like that, if I put this, look a little bit dreamy. Firstly, you put the highlights down so that you will get the background what you are looking into. Then you put your whites a bit high so that you will get the dreamy look, and blacks obviously down. If you put the shadows down, you will put the blacks down, because you want the blacks to be black. You don't want any whitish in the black, because if you see, if I put black up, this is what you're going to see. But I don't want too much light into the photograph. It has to be perfect, it has to be dreamy. So that's why I put blacks a little bit down. If you want to put the blacks up, if you don't want to go with the blacks, then you just put it simple, just tap on it and it's just 0. So that will also work fine, but I put blacks a little bit downside, so it's good. And then I go to my presence. I generally don't go with texture ever. I never like kabhi ise chheda nahi maine. The texture remains the same. I never play with that. Little bit clarity, not too much clarity. If you put too much clarity, maybe I generally prefer clarity up to +10, not more than that. If you want too much dreamy look, you put the clarity down, so it gives you that. Doesn't put the haze in that, because there is nothing like that. You already put the contrast, so there is no need to put the haze in that. Okay, so vibrance, a little bit saturation. Obviously you need the colors to be bright. You can see in my all pictures the colors are very bright, and that's the reason, because I always pump up the saturations in the picture, that you will able to see that. And then obviously the curve, it is basic. I generally don't play with the tone curve, remains the same. You can see, you can check it out. If you put the same, you will get the result. Just put this thing low and this is high, because this is the highlights and this is the shadows. So you put the shadows a bit down and highlights to go up a little bit, so it will give you that dramatic look that you want in the picture. And then the main thing, how you play, that is hue, saturation and luminance. So generally, basically, if you play with this section that is called HSL, your color section, you will get what you want. This is the only trick, this is the only thing I use, nothing else more than that. This is complication, split toning. If you want to use that, you can. I just put it a little bit. But if you talk about hue, saturation and luminance, so I generally play with hue, like what orange I want, what kind of color I want. If you put the orange down, you can see it going to be orange up, it going to be a yellowish look. I don't want the yellow, I don't want like redness in that photo. I just want it has to be not too much yellow but not even red. So I'm not playing with red because it's in this picture you're not going to see any red colors, so definitely you're not going to play. And then with the yellows and oranges, obviously there are so many yellows and oranges in the picture, so you need to play with them obviously. So greens, because this picture has greens, so this is also what I prefer. Sometimes you want to go with the more greeny look, because so many if you see, so many photographers use this look. This is the green look, and so many photographers use this look. This is called teal look, but I go with like a little bit teal side, but not definitely the teal. It has to be green, a little bit green, not completely teal. And I don't play with aquas, blues, purples here, because there is no color in that. And then obviously magenta, because there are some rose petals here in the middle, so you can see. And so we generally play with those. And if you go down, the colors go down. If you need to pump up those colors which are into the scene, so I generally put like 60, 50. So you have to play with that, like whatever you want. And saturation, obviously not playing with anything, everything is fine, only the magenta I want to be saturated. And also the luminance, green a little bit here. I play with greens, yellows, orange, and magenta a little bit. Why luminous? What actually hue and saturation in luminance is? Basically, hue will change the color, like the what you want, like red darkness or red, little bit red or more red, yellowish or yellow, burnt yellow, that's it called teal. If you burn the yellow, it's called teal. So what you want. And saturation is more about like how punk the color is, how much. If you put more colors into a box, it's just like saturated, how the color has to be pop out, how more the pop-up color should be pop out, that is called saturation in that. And luminous is that if you put a color in that, and if you put the saturated in that saturation, and you want a saturation and colors to be brighten enough, so luminous will give the brightness to the colors basically. So this is all I use in the picture. And then we go to the split toning. So basically what the split toning will do, if you see, I put a little bit yellows in the highlights, because you can see the highlights here, they are all like sunlight is falling on trees, and there are a bit of yellows in that. So I want the yellows, the highlights has to be little bit yellow side, because you can see the sky is also white, and the water is also white. So I want a little bit yellowish side, because it's just ऐसा तो हो नहीं सकता ना कि if there is sun, there has to be some yellowishness all over around. So you want to put that yellowishness so that people can feel it, that there has been sunlight coming. Okay, so that's what I generally prefer. And shadows, I don't go with the shadows. Firstly, I want to put some blues in shadows, but then I just thought I want to put black. So this is how it is. And then I never play with sharpening, never play with noise reduction, and this is something I didn't use here. Generally, whatever I want to transform or rotate or something like that, I would do that in my phone. And there is no post provisioning or something like that. I don't do that. And then this is a very good section where you can play with so many things. So if we play with green, you can easily see how these greens move. This is a more dramatic look, and this is a teal look. So you can play with whatever you want to. If you just done your editing, you can play with green and put some more greens in the picture. You can change the saturation level here. So this is how you do. And if we talk about, okay, shadows, what are the shadows you want? You want the shadows to be green, you want the shadows to be purplish, so you can play with that also. So this is how it is. And there are no blues in that. There are obviously magenta in that, so you can go with this red primary, so you can easily play with this thing, because this is how it is. You can change the saturation level also if you want to change. See where the red is going, where the reddish is in the picture, it is going if you put the saturation down. So this is how it is. And the saturation you put like that. So I just want to put here 0. And what I did more, I didn't put this like petal here in the water, because obviously you want a little bit of that. I need to do that also, but I just thought it is looking good, that's why I didn't pick it. But here, if you see here, there is a small pinkish here, but you cannot see the pink here, because what I did, I go to this section, that is called radial filter, and I put 2 radial filters. Like you can see here, it is black, so I put 1 radial filter and pump up the exposure. So what it will give, it gives me the whitish look. So the blacks is gone, so this is fine, because I don't want any blackish thing in the picture. And the second I put here, so what I do, I reduce the pinkishness, the tint of pink in the picture in this section where I place this tool that is called radial filter. There are 2 type of filters here, and gradual filter and radial filter. You can use for the circular or something like that. You can use radial filter, and for upside down, or for a seamless thing, you can put like gradual filter basically. So yeah, and so this is all about this editing of this picture. And afterwards, like after I done with this edit, and so this is how I compare my picture. Or generally I like put my picture in this way or in this way. You can see the difference, upside down. You can see the upside down also, how it changes, how it shifts, how the color moves. And so if you like it, I generally save it, and you can see how it will look on Instagram. This is how it looks on Instagram. This is a picture you can and beautifully clicked by Muskura, obviously, and he clicked this picture very beautifully. And so this is how the final product will look. I generally what I see, so this is how it is. If you want to know more about editing, if you want more about this is a very simple way. Just play with the tones here, the play with shadows, highlights, contrast, pump the contrast, pump the bright saturation, low down the highlights, low down the shadows, low down the blacks, pump up the whites. This is a very simple technique. You can copy it down, you can use it anywhere. Pump up the contrast as much as you can, until or unless it is not contrasty. You don't need to pump too much contrast, just go with the flow. pump the contrast. If you pump the contrast and you see the contrast is very high, put down the saturation. Okay, saturation will works with the contrast, but in a good way. You need to work it on how you need to do that. So yeah, so this is how it is, and I hope you will enjoy this video. And so if you want to know anything about more about editing, or any picture you want to know how I edited, what software I use or something like that, I will post another video. And thank you for watching, and thanks a lot.